Hello, I'm GTF.
And this is Un, for once, not playing a thing.
Instead, he'll be watching a thing as I play a thing. Ys, within Felghana.
And this is a remake of Ys 3, Wanderers from Ys, kind of the black sheep of the series.
It was not very well liked by the fans, however Falcom seems incredibly proud of it still because this is not the first time they remade it. It also had a PS2 remake.
This version uses the same engine from Ys 6, the Ark of Nepishtim, and is fairly widely considered the best game in the series so far, and I could really see that. It's an excellent remake.
At the very least, it's the best of the games that use the Ark of Nepishtim engine. Falcom had also remade Ys 4 and 5 using the engine, and I have not really heard any praise for either of them.
Oh well, Ys 3 was probably the game most in need of a remake anyway, because, it had a solid concept, solid story, a lot of potential. It's just the first time around they didn't really pull it off quite that well.
Well, they tried going in a different direction, kind of like Zelda 2. Get rid of the overhead perspective and try to take a side-scroller look at it, and it wasn't very well received. Not that bad in of itself, though.
Yeah, I kind of liked it, at least with respect to the Genesis version, because the PC Engine version had really bad scrolling issues, but really outstanding soundtrack, quite possibly the best in the series so far.
And if anything, one of the most redeeming features about Wanderers from Ys. Anyway, no matter how many people hate the game, most will recognize that it at least had a good soundtrack.
Yeah, and this one has pretty much the same, selection of tracks and everything, but it's a real instrument rearrangement as opposed to the synth version that was in Wanderers. And I would be hard-pressed to make a call on which I like better. They're both really good renditions.
Yeah, I'm sort of torn between them as well. And here we are, rescuing the random girl from wolves. Damn lot of wolves out here.
And gotta love the way Adol isn't very clean about his destructive habits. He just really kind of splatters them all over the landscape.
Yeah. Chunks them, too. Look at that. Bouncing all over the place. And, of course, this random girl had a full body art portrait, so that means she's important.
Well, you gotta have the obligatory girl who kind of falls for Adol, but inevitably gets left behind.
Yep. Elena's not that bad, though. She really isn't as clingy or obsessive about you as, say, Fina or Lilia were. Elena spends most of the time fawning over her brother instead. Not really sure if that's an improvement, though.
Certainly a little more on the disturbing side, and I really kind of wish they had cut away to Dogi during this section, at least briefly, like when he has to get away from the wolves himself, because, given what he does to walls, you can just imagine him, punching enormous holes through the monsters of the area.
Oh, yeah, you'd probably just be like a giant Kool-Aid guy. Oh, yeah! Kinda got the same habit of plowing through anything in his path. It's the wall's fault for getting in his way, after all.
Given his usually kind of hyper-enthusiastic attitude, I could even imagine him doing the yell.
And it really wouldn't be out of place if he did it, either.
No, not really.
I would actually kind of like maybe a side story where we play as Dogi. He's not always attached to Adol's hip, after all.
I could get behind that.
Or at the very least, give us a segment of a new Ys game where we have to play as Dogi for one reason or another. Just give us some time off from Adol, throw him in jail or something, and give us Dogi as we have to plow his way through, I don't know, a whole series of walls to get to his cell.
And the obligatory intro sequence here.
Not as good as Ys 2 Complete's version of the animated opening sequence, but this one's pretty nifty too. I think the music's a little dull.
True. Although one thing it's certainly notable for is Adol and Dogi actually having the sense to take the land route for once, so Adol doesn't have to get picked up off the beach.
Well, they did come in to buy a small boat anyway, so they had to go to sea eventually. I like here sort of like recreating the opening from Wanderers from East, where they're in the traveling carnival or whatever, and they find the fortune teller.
And I do have to mention something about the Genesis version of that section of the intro. It pretty much covers the same events, although it's just still images and text rather than FMV, of course. But it has one of the most unfortunate typos I think I've ever seen, in which they meet the fortune teller and the game text describes her as having long flowing back hair. So that's got a very important L. It should have been, of course, long flowing black hair, but no, they met a fortune teller with long flowing back hair.
Stresses the importance of quality checking.
Yeah, I think that's a situation where, you know, if it can ever be described as long and flowing, you really ought to break out the hot wax, or maybe get yourself some nads.
It's really funny because I've sort of read like it's just like a series of screenshots showing the opening sequence, and I never noticed such a typo before.
I gotta say, it really kind of jumped out at me.
Well, they say your brain kind of corrects things when you're not looking for them. Yeah, this is a little bit of spoilerific here. Great, now we know something bad's gonna happen to Elena. The whole blackness thing, great. Yeah, like it's...
Yeah, well, on the other hand, you know, if you're the requisite temporary love interest in an East game, it's pretty much inevitable.
Yeah, they all wear signs that say, "Kidnap me." Well, the intro's almost over now, and we're gonna have to sign off. See you next time.
See you then.